So why fairy tales? Well, fairy tales are stories that have been collected over thousands of years, passed down orally from generation to generation, and they are filled with symbolism and archetypes and spiritual truths that speak to a child and all of us at a very deep level. And for the young child under the age of 7, we're trying to teach them that the world is a good place that they've come into, that the world is a righteous and just place, and fairy tales feed that need for a young child, because in a fairy tale, good always overcomes evil, and a child finds that very satisfying.
Imagine a world where dragons soar through the skies, where the brave knights embark on daring quests, and where magic spells can turn pumpkins into carriages. Close your eyes for a moment and let your imagination transport you to a place where dreams comes alive. The enchanting realm of fairy tales. Assalamualaikum and good morning to my respected lecturer, Madam FARINA NOZAKIAH binti TAZIJAN, and everyone watching today. I am NURUL ATIKAH binti ALIAS, and today I stand before you to reveal a timeless secret, a secret that holds the key to unlocking the hearts and minds of our children, the benefits of reading fairy tales. Imagine a world where fantasy becomes reality, where dreams come true, and where the impossible becomes possible. This enchanted realm can be found within the pages of fairy tales. This timeless story have captivated generations, transporting us to magical lands, introducing extraordinary characters, and teaching us valuable life lessons. Fairy tales are read before bed, reinforced by Disney reenactments, and are present in school and children's psyche as they grow up. While there are some great fairy tales adaptation on both paper and film, the original forms of fairy tales function on a deeper level inside the psyche of the children. According to Vavkov 2016, reading fairy tales to children is vital for their intellectual and emotional development as they contain therapeutic features. Likewise, Visikok Knox and English 2016 stated that fairy tales help educate children about human nature and the world, conveying essential messages in a fun and engaging way. Fairy tales have been captivating young hearts and minds for centuries, transporting children to faraway lands and sparking their imagination. But why are fairy tales so crucial in child's development? To begin with, I'd like to present 3 key reasons why reading fairy tales should be a priority in every child's life. In an age where technology dominates our lives and traditional storytelling is sometimes overlooked, it is critical that we understand that fairy tales have various therapeutic features that may help children's emotional well-being and personal development. First and foremost, fairy tales emphasize emotional development and validation as therapeutic elements reflecting diverse characters' emotion. This affirmation assists children in understanding and acknowledging that it is normal to experience a variety of emotion such as sadness, fear, anger, or joy as they confront challenges in their life. Children can relate to characters in fairy tales by recognizing their own emotional experiences and emphasizing their inner strength and compassion for overcoming hardship and mistreatment, such as Cinderella's. Children gain hope and inspiration from characters' development, determination, and success, recognizing potential for transformation and growth. For instance, the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale highlights inner beauty, kindness, and personal growth. Normalizing feelings and reducing guilt can reduce children's feelings of isolation and shame, providing comfort, relief, and inspiration to face obstacles with hope and determination. According to Post 2023, fairy tale also emphasize compassion, empathy, and caring, fostering emotional connection with characters to improve understanding and empathy for others. Fairy tales showcase diverse characters, exposing children to diverse perspectives and encouraging empathy and broadening understanding of others through perspective-taking activity. For example, let's take a look at The Little Mermaid, which promotes empathy, compassion, kindness, and understanding in children through treating others as they would like. Through this mechanism, fairy tales provide children with opportunities to engage with diverse characters, expand their understanding of others, and cultivate a caring and empathic worldview. Secondly, reading fairy tale exposes children to complex language, metaphors, and descriptive phrases, which helps them develop their language and vocabulary. These tales often include vivid imagery and emotive language, which aid in the development of children's vocabulary and language abilities. Albert Einstein, the genius who unlocked the mysteries of the universe, once said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." Fairy tale expose children to sentence structures, grammatical patterns, and natural comprehensions of grammar. Fairy tales offer contextual learning for children, enhancing vocabulary through meaningful, memorable context and recalling information. Children develop active listening and comprehension skills by listening to fairy tales aloud, improving their overall language abilities and understanding context. Finally, the utilization of fairy tales as part of the therapy for children suffering post-traumatic stress disorder may be an effective therapeutic approach. Walter 2017 mentioned that child therapy group uses psychoanalytic method with fairy tales and play to restore content space, protect shields, and reinstate illusion and imagination. Fairy tales in therapeutic groups foster shared experience, belonging, and relationship. It uses symbolism and metaphor to address children's inner conflict and anxieties in a non-threatening manner. Let me give you an example. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland explores identity, self-discovery, and navigating unfamiliar territories through symbolism. Fairy tales also enhance emotional expression, well-being, imagination, and creativity in the therapeutic group. With all of this in mind, I am sure you are starting to realize that fairy tales have a huge impact on our children's development. Let us now look at how to properly include fairy tales in the life of the children. I would like to start by saying that to effectively incorporate fairy tales into children's life, educators, therapists, and parents should make fairy tale books readily available and promote exploration. By making fairy tales books widely available to children and encouraging their exploration, we may give them the opportunity to engage with these transforming tales, which promote emotional intelligence, resilience, problem-solving skill, moral growth, self-reflection, and identity construction. Fairy tales connect with children's experiences and emotion and explore challenging themes like body image, self-esteem, and identity. Let's take a look at the slide now. Here are some of the ways to effectively implement fairy tales with the children. Firstly, creating a reading schedule for children, choosing suitable fairy tales, and using expressive techniques to create a captivating storytelling experience will help foster their love for literature. Next, encourage open discussions, goal settings, creative activities, collaborative projects, reflection, and practice to integrate fairy tales with the children. Finally, promoting reading and engaging children in fairy tales by offering accessible libraries, promoting storytelling sessions, and fostering book club, especially at school or at home, can enhance emotional well-being, normalize emotion, and develop skills. As a part of the therapeutic process, the therapists help children link themselves to fairy tales, characters, and incidents, addressing self-awareness, anxieties, and developmental fears through projecting the story onto themselves. We can see that fairy tales offer a safe framework for children to explore their struggle and anxieties, providing symbolic language and comforting space for therapists or counselor to work with. Furthermore, comprehensive evaluation by therapist or counselor assesses child's emotional issues, developmental stage, and requirement for appropriate fairy tales. Reading fairy tales benefits children's emotional well-being, personal development, and self-expression through imaginative narratives, symbolism, and relatable characters as stated by Walters 2017. Now that you have seen the great influence these fairy tales have on your children, let's take a look at why fairy tales play a role in childhood. In general, fairy tales are one of the ways we learn about good and evil when we are young. Other approaches are religious, such as from the Quranic stories. Fairy tales, on the other hand, are one way for many children, especially those raised in non-religious families, to learn right from wrong and good from evil. The evil guy commits an offense and is punished, whereas a hero is a nice person who assists someone in need. Now you have seen the fantastic influence these fairy tales have on your children. Let's look at why fairy tales are crucial in childhood. Additionally, fairy tales begin to teach moral lessons to children. Let me give you an example. The timeless tale of Goldilocks and the Three Bears advises us not to break into homes of others. We learn not to trust strangers from Red Riding Hood. Every fairy tale carries a moral lesson. Children learn this principle through fairy tales, which continue to influence them throughout their lives. By now, you should understand why children benefit from fairy tales. From this, we can conclude that Children who are exposed to fairy tales may gain much from them. Fairy tales have an important role in the development of children, especially in terms of awareness and moral evolution. As a counselor or therapist, using helpful instruments like fairy tales may have a tremendous effect on children's health and quality of life, and possibly affect their values and views in the future. Thus, fairy tales provide a way of expressing oneself within the confines of a text and a narrative, as well as a means of finalizing in times of competing for mental emotions. Let me finish by saying it is encouraged for children to read fairy tales because of its element in the story. These experiences are crucial to children's emotional and social development and may provide substantial challenges or obstruction. Initiating fairy tale talks with children may vary based on age and maturity, but don't be afraid to start. That's all from me. Thank you.